Fellow New Yorkers and I are familiar with MTA buses, and I am always amazed by their system, and that's the same for any agency I research. One service that really impresses me is Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT, which involves buses moving along dedicated routes for faster service. For example, in New York City, there is select bus service routes where buses run mostly on camera enforced bus lanes to get from point A to point B. Now, I am not saying that all buses should move on dedicated lanes. Besides, some riders need local stops. I am encouraging standard features on all city buses. Normally, a bus fleet is based on the circumstances of a community. For example, some have buses for local routes, express routes, or what we New Yorkers know as limited bus routes, and even commuter routes, which at times involves coach buses for comfort reasons. Many bus companies have different bus models for just one type of service. Now, unlike Dreamfleet, I'm not endorsing any particular bus models or manufacturers. What I am encouraging is for bus companies and transit agencies to have one or two bus models, preferably one, that could follow these principal guidelines in your area. First, could they accommodate for the area as a whole? For instance, some buses have bicycle racks, but to accommodate for passengers, it may be best to have bicycle racks on the outside of the bus. What fuel is more practical in your area? Is your company a predominantly diesel fleet or compressed natural gas fleet? Now, as for electric buses, is in fuel cell powered buses, I like them, don't get me wrong. Nevertheless, would it be practical to convert into such a fleet? For instance, if your youngest diesel buses are less than 5 years old, it may not be the best time to acquire buses of another fuel source. And finally, which one would be easier for both crew members to operate in your area and depot workers to maintain? Whatever model that might work in one area might not work somewhere else. And the reason why I would prefer one type of model is because it would be much easier to have everyone trained properly. For instance, let's compare and contrast the fleets of American Airlines and Southwest Airlines. Imagine if American Airlines hired a new pilot. In an unlikely scenario where he needs training for every single aircraft type in the fleet, he would need around 5 to 7 certifications because of the different aircraft models. 2 certifications would be needed to fly both the Boeing 737 series and the Airbus A320 family. Now, I am basing this off of the fleet that I research on their website. In sharp contrast, pilots and maintenance crews for Southwest Airlines only need training and certification on the Boeing 737 series. Many low-cost carriers try to have preferably one aircraft series for their entire fleet. If transit agencies could do the same thing, operations and maintenance would be easier to handle. Sometimes the operator can't help that he might be late going to your destination, and neither could the ones making the transaction when boarded. For instance, whenever I take the express bus into Manhattan, you don't know this, but sometimes a bus stop may consist of multiple passengers, and it may take almost 3 to 5 minutes for everyone in line to pay the fare when boarding. So there needs to be a way to make faster transactions and to board and exit both the front and rear doors. But how would you pay for your trip? The answer is using either an off-board fare machine where you pay before boarding the bus, as well as a handheld fare machine used by a bus monitor. Both would involve using an authorized payment card or a mobile app. Preferably to make trips faster, you would be encouraged to pay from the off-board fare machine before the bus comes. By doing so, you could have a receipt that you could show to either the operator or the monitor. But what if you're running to catch the bus? Just board and pay for your trip through the bus monitor's fare machine. By doing this, the bus will still be able to get back on the road quickly and to your destination. Many prefer to take the bus than to drive. However, what slows it down is having bus stops at a short distance, as well as multiple turns at busy intersections. For instance, if you ever taken the S46 here on Staten Island as I have, you may agree that the intersection of Walker Street and Morningstar Road could be a nuisance during rush hour. What would help is to have buses on routes like that to make as very few turns as possible. In fact, I wouldn't mind if the St. George Ferry bound S46 stayed on Walker Street all the way to Port Richmond Avenue. If you have ever taken the S46 or you take it regularly, give your thoughts in the comments section as to whether you agree or not. What would also help is to discontinue some bus stops. I would recommend discontinuing ones that are in a good walking distance of the next stop over. The ones that would stay, however, would be ones within good walking distance of a commercial building like a deli store, as well as ones that would be easier for transfers and connections. For instance, going back to that intersection on Staten Island, none of the bus stops there should be discontinued so as to transfer to the S89 Limited, which goes over to the Bayonne Bridge to the 34th Street Light Rail Station. The average traffic light turns green 6 seconds after the pedestrian signal stops. Some traffic lights are kept from turning red longer than usual so that buses can pass by. To make buses faster, this should be standard for all routes and all traffic lights. Some areas already have done this, and passengers would agree that the buses get them to their destination faster than before. A simplified fleet, faster payments, bus stop spacing, fewer turns, and priority signaling can make all local, express, and commuter buses even faster and more reliable. What are your thoughts? Tell them in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow me on Twitter where I give thoughts and ask questions on public transportation so as to help me come up with new videos. Also follow me on Folk where I upload new pictures whenever I do bus fanning or rail fanning, and you can purchase those pictures for your projects.